I'm Tanny Dawn Hiscox. I'm the Deputy Editor of the Staff Canteen. This week we visited James Cochran at restaurant 1251 to talk about the past year since being in GBM, his new street food brand, Goat, and his plans for the future. Hi everyone, we are here at restaurant 1251 with James Cochran and the wonderful Bella. Hiya James, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you very much.
So it's been a year since Great British Menu. It's been roughly a year since you opened 1251. How are things going?
I think Great British Menu was kind of a great stepping stone, really just kind of builds my personal profile. And it happened at the most perfect timing because I think it aired and then we opened up 1251. And it's been a pretty good year. I really cannot complain. I feel like the restaurant's going from strength to strength. I've now just got a new head chef that started a couple months ago and a sous chef. So it's kind of going to take my role, step out a little bit now and give me more chance to be able to kind of create and kind of build each week and try and elevate the food more and more. And I really cannot complain for the first year. Awesome. I think we had a really busy year. Maybe a bit too busy than most normal restaurants. We opened up Goat side, we've got our Scotch bonnet jam, our beer, and then we kind of got like a little merch clothing line. So no complaints.
Great. I was just going to ask you about Goat. So you recently launched your first permanent installation of Goat at Box Park in Croydon. Can you tell us a little bit more about the project and where you see that going?
So I feel it's important for any chef really to tell a story about their food. And my roots is I'm half West Indian, half Scottish, and originally from Whitstable. I think, as we know, you think of goat and you think of curried goat. And I had goat on the restaurant here, and it was a Great British Menu dish, and it was a whole kind of sharing platter of goat. A lot of people would come here and they would be a bit wary of goat, but once they had it, they really loved it, enjoyed it. And me and Dan, my business partner, kind of sat there and thought, okay, we've got something here. So we'd done Latitude Festival, Blackheath, and then we did like a couple of markets at Victoria Park on a Sunday. So really just kind of test the waters out. And the feedback was lovely from it. So we felt that now's the right time because goat is really a byproduct. Because you want the goat for milk, the males are basically slaughtered. And you think at the moment with everything happening in the world, we have a product here that no one's using. And it's a beautiful product in my eyes. So we thought, let's launch Goat by Chef James Cochran. The thing about it as well is you have to understand that the way that we are brought up on from our parents, past parents, that when you go to the supermarket and what we eat from a young, early age is chicken, pork, beef and lamb. And one thing I've realised is that we're never ever going to beat those places. And what I have is very niche. But it's really about getting the word out there and getting the name out. And I work with a great supplier, James Cochran, who support me from day dot. And it's just getting it out there because my kind of food, I feel a lot of chefs, the food they cook every day is not what they eat at home. And my comfort food and my favourite thing is my Jamaican drop butter chicken, or I love a pizza, or kind of trash food. So this is kind of like a take on trash comfort food. So basically it's like a homemade flatbread, and basically we get the shoulder goat. So we actually use nanny goats as well. Again, like the old kind of goat we use, and basically we spice it up with my jerk spice that I've kind of been playing around for the last kind of year or so. Basically rub it on there for 24 hours on the shoulder, and basically cook it really slow, 96 degrees for 12 hours. Then pick all the meat down, and then we serve on top of flatbread. Then you kind of think of West Indian flavours, so you kind of think of coconut or tamarind or pineapple or mango. So we kind of done different things with those, and they kind of dressed on top of it, and it's actually making me quite hungry now.
Yeah, salivating a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously you have your own reasons for wanting to use goat and promoting the use of goat that you trace back to your heritage and your personal taste, but why do you think that other chefs should be doing the same?
Good question. it's going to really stand back again. Like, customers come to your restaurant to try your food, and it's the way of how you portray it to your front of house staff for them to portray it over to the customers and try and sell it. You have a beautiful piece of meat that's grown in the UK that is widely available all year round, and it's also the ways we have to understand it this way that I was trained as a chef, or chefs that are trained. In many restaurants you can probably go, you're going to have your classics, your pork, your beef, you're having your chicken on you. That's throughout the course of the whole year. When it's game season, you've got your grouse, your pheasant. But again, you have a beautiful product going from all year round that is sustainable and is a sustainable product that we can use. So I feel I want to kind of be the person as well to really kind of get it out there and do more talks on this. So me and James from Cabrito going to Trinidad to really kind of there to talk about what you can do with goat, because they're importing their goat from America, and you have a commodity here that you can basically grow in your own country and sell. So I'm going out there to really kind of talk about all different cuts of meat, what you can do from it. And I feel also as well, it's important. We don't have it on the go here at the moment at the restaurant, but when we do, we always use the whole animal. I think it's important you respect the whole animal and use it all. And it's good as well for the chefs to kind of see from different parts of braising the belly, to what you can do with the belly, to the shoulder we can turn into kromeskis, the loin we can jerk spice it, then we can cook it on the Barter grill, or there's different kind of ways of doing it. So yeah, I think you've got to respect the whole animal.
So what do you say to people that think that you shouldn't be promoting different kinds of meat, but that should be promoting, eating less meat and eating more vegetables and diversifying that sort of offering?
Here's the thing. You have farmers and breeders who will nurture all the animals, and I am personally never going to cut my meat back, because I believe if you have something ethically sourced that's raised well, native bred, and you're getting a good piece of meat, then I will carry that. But again, the consumer side of it, that is literally on mass production and the way they treat the animals and push it out there, and it's pumped, some meats are pumped with blood or red food colouring, pumped with water, then that's not really fair, because you're starting, like, imagine you start from the seed and watch that grow. You're literally starting from this animal and it has no life or no kind of story or nothing behind it. It's there to be consumed by us. So I would say to people is, again, it's thinking outside your normal box. We're setting that way of going to the supermarket to get this. I guarantee is now, if you spend a little bit more, you will see the difference. I'm not saying for people to be doing this week in, week out, because everyone has a tight pocket, but there's ways around it.
Yeah, so you're better off eating meat little and in high quality than you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great, well answered. So I have a final question, and I have a couple of questions from our audience that they sent through on Instagram. So I'll start with their questions and then I'll wrap it up for the last one. So the first question is, what ingredient do you dislike the most and why?
What I dislike the most? Okay, what I don't like to eat? Eggs. I bloody hate them. So basically, it's going to sound really stupid. So I was 2 years old. It was back in 1987, and there was, on the news, there was an egg scare basically talking about salmonella. And I remember looking to, well, I don't remember this, but my dad told me about it. I looked at him and said, I'm never going to eat eggs again. Then I can happily sit there and I think, oh, that's a beautiful poached egg, or that's a lovely fried egg, or like an omelette. And in my mind it's going to taste lovely, but when I eat it, I just go back to that vision of it, and that literally does not sit well with me.
Fair enough. Okay, so the second question is this, and I wasn't sure how to interpret it. You can work it through with me. So who is the biggest influence in British catering still working? So I'm not sure whether they meant on you or the biggest influence all round.
All round?
So maybe answer both of those questions.
For me, like, my biggest influence that's been on myself would be Brett Graham from Ledbury, and also Mark Stobbs from my first restaurant I worked at, Wheeler's Oyster Bar. I remember my first job work there, I started when I was 13. And it's a bit of an institution, to be fair. It's been there since 1856. And I kind of learned how to fill it from an early age. I really kind of learned how to kind of respect fish in so many different ways. Again, this was going back 15 years ago, so the food back then to what it was now is completely different, but he kind of taught me how to learn the basics. And then from there, I went to Ledbury, and that kind of really elevated my style of food. And a lot of my dishes that I do now is techniques I've learned from there. I think it also is important as well, is when I left the Ledbury, I was kind of, that's the only kind of style of cooking I knew, and it kind of took me a lot of years to really kind of find my own style of food, basically, and I'm happy to do now, basically. Yeah. And who would I say? Jesus Christ. I mean, the chefs you're widely going to know, the chefs you see in TV, bloody, before all around you, the Jane Oliver's, the Jason Atherton's, yeah, that's what I'm going to say, yeah.
What's your best recommendation for a new chef to gain knowledge?
It's different how it was to when I first started cooking. Oh, I'm old. When we started off, it was about learning that trade. I think this day and age now, you have to understand that the cost of living has gone up in London. The price of everything's gone up. And a lot of the chefs now comes down to the buck, doesn't it? And the thing it's taken me a good 6-8 months to really get a team here, because we're an independent restaurant. But I think it's important for chefs to really kind of take the time and nurture and learn that trade. Like you see so many chefs now just jump from one restaurant to the other. And I feel every day I'm still learning as a chef. And it's just important for most chefs to kind of really just, you're going to have some good days, some bad days, but understand, invest and take as much knowledge as you can. I don't believe in going to college, because college really never taught me anything of what the real industry was. And also it's important to sit down and kind of have a vision of where you want to go, what direction you want to be, what kind of certain cuisine. You've got to kind of really think about your roots, about yourself, about the food you're raised on, places where you've been, things that stand out for you, and from that journey, kind of really start from there and build yourself up, and maybe pick 2 or 3 restaurants out, and maybe say, okay, I want to spend a year there, a year there, and then from there, it's really about kind of having the kind of support unit from your friends and family for you to be able to do a pop-up. And then you start off doing it at home with your friends and family, get feedback from there, then stick on doing a pop-up, and then really just kind of get your name out there. And hopefully, fingers crossed, you'll have an investor, not like what I had previously, but who would believe in what you do in your direction. And that's one thing that's important as well. If you ever have an investor or an investment, understand that back-end person has to believe in your vision. Don't let him try and dictate what he wants to do. And if he does that, then don't go with him, because it'll end like a slippery slope that happened to me. And yeah.
They trademarked your name, right?
Yeah.
How did you get out of that?
They trademarked my name and my brand, and I felt at the time it was, what it came down to was me being naive. When someone said they're going to name your restaurant after you, this is all false hopes. Now you can see my restaurant called 1251 by Chef James Cochran. I think social media helps a lot, because it's mental how someone decides to keep your name when you're not even there and get a chef in to try and cook the same dish as you. Now it's all kind of really been crushed underneath the carpet, and long live my name, basically.
Good, yeah, good for you. You get to keep your name.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last question from an audience member was, thoughts on Indian cuisine, chef?
What's Indian cuisine?
It's quite a vague question.
Yeah. There's not a lot of fine dining in Indian cuisine, I think, in London. And again, it stems back to this. If you go to your main curry houses or Indian restaurants, it is dishes that England or the UK have basically made.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to try and find an authentic Indian cuisine. And I think there is a market for a kind of fine dining. I think Dishu, they do it really, really well.
Yeah.
Really massive fan of them. But there's not really kind of a fine dining kind of element to Indian cuisine. I think it's banana.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple.
So you've got cricket.
I went to cricket last week actually. Sorry, I take that back. Cricket is phenomenal, yeah. So I went there last. Oh my god, I apologise to Will. Yeah, that's all I'm saying basically.
But there's definitely scope for more of it.
Yeah.
There's a recent study saying that people are eating less of the sort of standard takeaway food like pizzas and stuff like that, and they're going more for food like Caribbean food, Indian food, Thai food. So there's definitely an appetite for that sort of restaurant.
You've got to see as well, like over every year, people are more interested in food. People are interested where it comes from. People's palates are changing. I mean, my favourite foods when I go and eat is like Taiwanese, Japanese, anything basically Asian. I love flavour bombs, and I think that kind of reflects on my menu here as well. My dishes doesn't really have any kind of style of flow. It's what I feel and I like, and I think everything has to have a punch of flavour on it.
Great. Okay, so back to my questions. Obviously, you're all set up here, and you've got loads going on with your brand, with the restaurant.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself going within the next 5 to 10 years, and where would you like to be in 10 years? Are you going to focus on here? Would you like to have several restaurants?
I can never open up 2, 3, 4 12-1s. First off, maintaining a standard. I would have a nervous breakdown because I would stress out about having 4 entities and maintain that standard. For me, I feel 12-1 for me is probably only 40-50% of where I want it to go. In the looks and design of the feel of the restaurant, in the kitchen, I feel, maybe in 2-3 years, maybe sooner, I would close this down and move to a better site. The vision dream for me was always have to open kitchen. I hate my kitchen downstairs, but what we can produce out of it is amazing. And again, just keep trying to elevate the food. I think a lot of chefs would say they're most happy when they're in the kitchen. And that's why I'm most happy, because you're able for your mind to create. But it's important as well for the brand of 1251 and myself to begin out there doing things like wilderness festivals or doing latitude or doing things like this. The vision for Go is I would like to get Go out there more, not just say London based. I feel we're recording not the perfect site for it, but get more sites possibly in London, because again it is a low investment, but again it's a low risk in some kind of way. So push and Go out there more. Again, the Scotch bonnet jam, you have to let everything that I'm doing is coming from my roots. See, so like you've got Scotch bonnet jam from my roots, the Go coming from my roots. Scotch bonnet jam, for me, the dream of that is basically to go national.
Yeah.
I want to get it in everywhere. That's my dream for that. And doing things that I really associate with myself. I love the clothing. I love, of course, beer, collaborating with that. And the vision in 10 years' time is not to be working as many hours as I'm doing now, basically. Yeah.
Fair enough. Great. Well, thanks a lot for taking the time, James. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks very much.